There's a single defining decision that every founder needs to make that will shape their entire journey. Avoiding it will break your business. Now, the problem is that most entrepreneurs don't even know they're facing it. So picture this. Two founders launch similar startups. 5 years later, one's worth 10 million and answers to investors, the other controls every aspect of their business but struggles to break 1 million. They each faced the same critical choice, but they made completely opposite decisions. Both of them consider themselves successful. Then there is a third founder who tried to balance both paths, refusing to choose. Their startup barely got off the ground. This is the rich versus king dilemma, and it's shaping your business trajectory whether you've acknowledged it or not. In today's video, you'll learn why certain entrepreneurs navigate this choice with remarkable clarity, where others, often equally talented, get trapped in cycles of uncertainty and compromise. You'll understand why trying to have it all actually leads to getting nothing, and I'll show you how to recognize which path aligns with your true priorities. And I'll give you a practical framework for making this decision with confidence, so by the end you'll get why this one choice will shape your entire entrepreneurial journey. Every founder dreams of building something remarkable, a business that's both impactful and rewarding. Yet as you scale, a choice often looms large. Do you prioritize wealth or control? This concept was brilliantly captured by Noam Wasserman in his Harvard Business Review essay, The Founder's Dilemma, which he later expanded into a book. It's actually one of my favorite books. It's not a light read that you'd take with you to the beach, but it's definitely worth your time. In his essay, he coined the phrase rich versus king. On one path, you optimize for financial success that comes from rapid growth and a profitable exit, that's the rich path. On the other, you maximize your control and autonomy, or king. So here's what's fascinating to me. The most successful founders aren't necessarily the smartest ones or the most innovative. They're the ones who make clear, intentional decisions and fully commit to them. The rich versus king dilemma is no different, and I want to be very clear, this isn't just some abstract academic concept. I've watched countless founders struggle with this problem most of the times without even recognizing it. Both choices are valid. What matters is that you choose. That's the whole crux of this whole issue. But to understand how to make this decision, you need to first understand what each option really means. Choosing to prioritize control means aligning every aspect of your business to protect your autonomy. So, your team, your funding, your strategy, all of that. This often means bootstrapping or taking minimal outside funding, and that you'll likely grow more slowly and organically. And you'll maintain a tighter grip on company culture, product decisions, and strategic direction because this path is about building your company on your terms. When you prioritize being king, you're saying that your vision, your methods, and your ability to make decisions matter more to you than maximizing financial outcomes. So, a friend of mine who was not formally looking for funding was recently made an unsolicited Series A offer. Indeed, her startup was gaining traction quickly and the offer was substantial, but she turned it down. She later told me that she had started the company to solve a specific problem in a specific way, and that the moment she adds another seat at the table, she'll have to accept someone else's influence on her vision. Her company will probably grow slower than some of her competitors, but will execute precisely the mission she had envisioned, which is what's most important to her. And this is a very common story. Well, not the unsolicited Series A offer, that doesn't really happen very often. I'm talking about the choice to prioritize autonomy over money, even when it's almost literally thrown at you. On the other hand, prioritizing wealth often involves relinquishing control in exchange for resources that can help your business grow rapidly. This typically involves raising significant capital, bringing in experienced executives, listening to board input, and sometimes stepping aside from certain decisions or even leadership positions altogether. Now, stepping back from decision-making doesn't necessarily mean you're giving up your vision. It simply means trusting others to execute it at scale. But you need to understand that your vision is not guaranteed in the long term. Take the founders of Instagram, for example. Just 18 months after launching, they sold their company to Facebook for $1 billion. They chose outcome over ownership. But Facebook, or Meta now, they took Instagram in a completely new direction, leaving its founders feeling sidelined and disillusioned, and they eventually stepped down. But that's the rich path in its purest form. Choosing this path means optimizing for financial outcomes, market impact, and scale, even if it means surrendering control. It's accepting a smaller slice of a significantly much larger pie that you might have little to no influence over. Now here's where things get interesting and where many founders stumble. Wasserman's research showed something crucial. Founders who try to optimize for both wealth and control often end up with neither. When you refuse to prioritize, you send mixed signals to your team and your investors. Your vision becomes diluted and your growth stalls. And your relationships suffer. I call this the fatal middle. You can see this play out in businesses where founders were unwilling to make hard calls. They insist on staying at the helm of every decision while also seeking aggressive funding. They end up losing credibility with their investors and the morale within their teams. Now, what's interesting is that this indecision is rarely about business strategy. It's almost always about identity. It's about the founder's relationship with their own ego and their inability to define what success truly means to them. So they raise capital, but then fight their investors on every decision. They hire experienced executives, but undermine them whenever their approach is just a little bit different. They claim to want rapid growth, but can't let go of the reins long enough to let that happen. Contrast this with founders who lean into their choice. When they prioritize wealth, they negotiate hard and clearly with investors to secure terms that balance their personal goals with the company's needs. When they prioritize control, they set boundaries early and either choose funding partners who share their vision or they bootstrap to maintain independence. How do you avoid that fatal middle? How do you make this choice with confidence? I've developed a simple framework that I think every founder should work through. This starts with knowing your goals and being brutally honest about your priorities. If you are forced to choose between a company that's tremendously successful but where you have limited influence or a smaller company where you call all the shots, which would make you happier? There's no objectively right or wrong answer here. It's all subjective because it's your answer, which makes it the right one as long as you're honest with yourself. Next, you need to align your strategy, which means now that you've identified your priority, every major business decision should reflect that. Your funding approach, your hiring philosophy, product roadmap, governance model, your board composition, they should all serve the path you've chosen. If control matters most, then maintain majority ownership and board control. If wealth and scale are the priorities, focus on structures that enable outside expertise. And finally, communicate transparently. Your stakeholders need to understand your intentions, so share your priorities with your co-founders, team members, and investors. Clarity builds trust and ensures that everyone is moving in the same direction. Ultimately, here's what I want you to understand. The rich versus king trade-off isn't a problem to overcome, it's an opportunity. By making this choice consciously, you're not restricting your options, you're focusing your energy. So define your goals. Choosing wealth requires you to surrender some control, while choosing control may limit wealth. Trying to have it all typically means that you lose both. Your success isn't determined by which path you choose, but by how clearly and consistently you walk it. The moment you embrace this decision is the moment you begin to gain true momentum. So align your strategy and communicate it transparently. You'll find that your teams work together more easily, your company's operational tempo will be faster, and your own personal satisfaction will increase dramatically. So what's your choice going to be? Rich or king? Whatever you decide, commit to it with all you've got because that commitment is your true competitive advantage. If you feel like sharing your decision, drop it down in the comments. I'd love to hear all about it and will definitely cheer you on. And if you want more actionable advice for balancing personal growth with business success, click on the playlist link in the description below and consider subscribing to this channel. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.